Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Snow White. Everyone hates Snow White now. Son of the original Snow White director is blasting the pathetic new radical film. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate you. I'm trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, so if you can subscribe, please do subscribe. Coming from the Daily Mail, my father and Walt Disney would be turning in their graves. Son of original Snow White director is blasting the pathetic new version starring Rachel Zegler and accuses radical Disney of having no respect for classics. You can't really argue with that point that Disney has no respect for classics. If they had any respect for classics, they would have now lost that credibility with this new Snow White film. It has been changed beyond recognition. The original Snow White is a German fairy tale, and I've seen viewers of my channel make comments saying they're German, they're highly offended by them taking away their German princess. Let's explain what Snow White's background is. First written down in the early 19th century, the Brothers Grimm published it in 1812 in the first edition of their collection, Grimm's Fairy Tales, numbered as Tale 53. The original German title, I'm going to try to do it the best I can, Sneewittchen. The modern spelling is Schneewittchen. The Grimms completed their final revision of the story in 1854, which can be found in the 1857 version of Grimm's Fairy Tales. The fairy tale already featured such elements such as the magic mirror, the poisoned apple, the glass coffin, and the characters of the evil queen and the 7 dwarfs. The 7 dwarfs were first given individual names in the 1912 Broadway play Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, and then given different names in Walt Disney's 1937 Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs film. That's where we're coming from. It's a German fairy tale. Does this woman look like she should be Snow White in a German fairy tale? No, of course not. The son of the original Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs director has blasted Disney's pathetic live-action radical remake of the movie, accusing the company of having no respect for classics. David Hand, 91 years old, whose father of the same name directed the original 1937 animation, rebuked Walt Disney Studios for pursuing an insulting and woke remake of the movie that sought to destroy its predecessor. He said the new adaptation would have both his father and Walt Disney himself turning in their graves as he slammed the upcoming movie starring Rachel Zegler as the titular character. This is just the latest Disney remake in a long string of live-action reimaginings that has seen the 20th century classic animations rewritten for today's audience, today's woke audience. It comes after several videos emerged online of Ziegler at 22 years old trashing the original movie, saying she hated it and thought it was extremely dated. You know, when you're going to cast people for a certain role, especially like this main role, she's the main character, they're getting rid of the dwarfs in the title and they're getting rid of the dwarfs altogether, turning them into these magical creatures. You would think you would find someone, even if they wanted to see a different version of Snow White, who loves the original movie. How many women, as girls, love the original Snow White movie? You'd want that person representing the character, where they had a personal interest in what they were doing when they were portraying the character. Of course, ultimately, it's Disney's fault for making these changes and dictating these changes. This isn't something that Zegler went to Disney with and said, hey, look, I have this full script that I came up with to do a new version of Snow White, and here's how we're going to get rid of the dwarfs. But at the same time, why put someone on a project as the main person in the project if it's something they say they hate? I guess unless to deliberately ruin the original. Mr. Hand told The Telegraph that many younger people had not even seen the film and so don't know what they're talking about. He said their views misunderstand the film. He said the information known so far about the new movie, set to be released in March 2024, was proving to be a whole different concept. Quote, I know my dad and Walt would also very much disagree with it, he told the publication, adding that the first movie was produced in good taste, and added that it was pathetic that people needed to feel animosity toward the picture, which is soon approaching 9 decades old. Amid the outcry about other Disney remakes, including this year's The Little Mermaid, Mr. Hand rebuked the company for feeling it needed to recreate classic movies. When you destroy classic literature, when you destroy old stories of another culture, it's really a cultural genocide. It's not something any culture should ever be doing. And this is the thing that really activates and annoys people and makes them just recoil because they know it's depraved and disgusting to change original literature to try to make it your own in the way that Disney is doing it. He called their thoughts radical and said he was afraid to see what they would continue to do with other early films, adding that it was a disgrace. Mr. Hand said some of the remakes had been changed so much that the characters and the original stories weren't the same anymore. He said they were making up new woke things and that they have no respect for what Disney did and what my dad did. This is a warning from someone who's 91 years old, telling us, hey, you know what? What they're doing is very sick and it's very damaging and it's disrespectful. But it's not just disrespectful to the source material. It's disrespectful to the culture. While Disney has focused on remaking live-action versions of its classic films in recent years, he called on bosses of the company to turn their focus on new original ideas. Mr. Hand said they should create new characters and not destroy a classic. It comes after Ziegler said she thought the prince in the 1937 animation was a stalker, whose weird storyline won't feature in the new remake. West Side Story actress, that's Ziegler, also said her character would be a fantastic leader amid speculation the film won't be the classic love story. Ziegler told Variety in an interview she's not going to be saved by the prince and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. And here has a good point. What is the point of taking a love story, not making it a love story, taking a princess and turning her into some kind of aggressive leader, which had nothing to do with the original Snow White? It really is like a Saturday Night Live spoof. Mr. Hand said the original voice actor for Snow White, Adriana Castellotti, whom Mr. Hand said he met multiple times, said she would be terrified of suggestions that her character wasn't a feminist. Other changes to the new production include 7 dwarfs being replaced by magical creatures. The characters all appear to be a mix of genders, ethnicities, and heights. Disney made the decision that the 7 dwarfs would be replaced in the new version to avoid reinforcing stereotypes after Game of Thrones actor Peter Dinklage criticized the F-backward story last year. Given the changes to the characters, the film is set to be called Snow White, the 7 Companions from the title. There are also suggestions that the classic song, Someday My Prince Will Come, has also been scrapped. They could have had a lot of fun with that song and honored the original. Here's what she's talking about when she said that Prince Charming is a stalker. From MovieWeb, Snow White live-action movie will change the story as the prince, quote, was a stalker. Rachel Ziegler reveals the motives behind the changes made to Snow White compared to the original version. Disney will have to face some other controversial chapters within its history with the upcoming live-action remake of Snow White, the first ever animated feature film for Disney. Their first ever animated film. This is part of Disney's DNA. They're wiping it out. Is now finally making its way back to the big screen in the form of live action, but it seems like the conflicts surrounding the project will once again be at the center of the stage. Since Disney started developing new versions of some of their most acclaimed movies, fans and people on social media have been slamming at every single movie, mostly because many don't want to risk their favorite films from childhood being ruined. And although most live-action remakes have been well received and have not suffered from that much criticism, a few projects were not so fortunate. The Little Mermaid, adapting the 1989 classic, received major backlash after announcing Halle Bailey as the main star because it's an absurd race swap. You can have black mermaids, you just can't go back and rewrite history and eliminate the original mermaid. Snow White has been through something similar when Rachel Zegler was confirmed to be playing the titular character, and even when that conflict was mostly left behind, other controversies surrounding the film have come up. A few weeks ago, a huge debate started on social media when an image from the Snow White set reportedly leaked, offering a first look at the new version of the 7 dwarfs that will now be magical creatures instead. So they've decided they have to eliminate dwarves. I don't know how they're going to get rid of dwarfism. Maybe if they keep the dwarves out of the Snow White movie, they'll be able to completely eliminate dwarves from society. You would have to wonder, yes, Dinklage had his comment, but not every little person is happy with being eliminated from a classic like this. This is how some people first even became aware and understood that there are little people in society and they exist and they're a part of things. This will be one of the major changes the live-action remake will include, but it won't be the only one. In the original 1937 film, the prince is the one that awakens the young princess from her dream after being poisoned by the evil queen, disguised as an old lady with an apple. He finds her after looking for her all over the place following her disappearance, since they already knew each other and shared a special bond. But as happened with many fairy tales over the passing of the years, audiences have started to question the development of their relationship. So it was expected that Disney would change some details for the remake, but probably not this many details. It is hard to believe that Disney has made this many changes to a classic to the point where it's obviously unrecognizable. Little Mermaid at least sort of has a similar plot to the original Little Mermaid. This, we don't even know what the plot is, even though Disney does seem to know what it is. So it's almost like the Bud Light situation when Dylan Mulvaney came out with Dylan's face on a Bud Light can and set the internet on fire with criticism. And to date, we still don't have a reasonable explanation for why didn't the company come out and explain right away what was going on when there was apparently a misunderstanding about Dylan Mulvaney not being the new face of Bud Light. If they're going to change the story of Snow White to the point it's unrecognizable, they should find the most positive spin they could possibly put on it and then have the company, obviously not Rachel Zegler, that's not working so well, have the company come out and say, hey, here's this great aspect of Snow White. Here's why it's exciting. Have a promotional team come out and start to sell the film in a positive way. And then if that backfires, there's nothing much else they can do but either put it out and let it completely flop or just don't put it out at all. Disney blows billions of dollars every year on all kinds of things. There's no reason they can't blow a couple $100 million on this and just cancel the damn thing. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.